This is Fragmented Reality, a digital bulletin podcast designed to bust the buzzwords that dominate enterprise technology. My name is Ben Moutzer, and in this episode, for the first time, I take my clutch of eggs, each containing an industry buzzword, to two people. Henrik Nilsson and Duncan Cousins from enterprise software firm Apptio. Right, we're good. We have our bowl of eggs in front. Well, I say a bowl. I'm going to be honest to the listener here. It's a hard hat turned upside down. And we have Henrik to open our first egg. Henrik, do you want to crack on? He's chosen a green one.
A green one.
And the first buzzword of today's episode is...
quantum computing.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
First of all, Henrik, we'll come to you. In terms of the knowledge of what quantum computing actually is, how much do you think is out there?
Not being technical, but for me, quantum computing is more computing power to be allowing to be doing all the processing that needs to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. That's the realm that I have around quantum computing.
Yeah,
Duncan?
My understanding is pretty similar. It's a future capability. I'm not convinced that anybody is leveraging it today. Maybe they are, but I haven't come across any of our customers that are doing anything with quantum computing as yet.
No.
I think the second I think of is Google and some of their science labs things that they're trying to do of building their own type of quantum computing.
Do you think at the moment it is reserved for the big tech companies who have the resource to be able to investigate technologies like this?
I don't want to be a person that says there will only be 3 pieces in the world, which somebody quoted quite a few years ago to go back to IBM. So I don't want to say that it's only reserved to that. I mean, in the future, it could be that everybody has a quantum computer at home, but at the moment it's really much the big research universities, MIT, Google and so on that has quantum computing. I would expect the US government to have a lot around that area as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I imagine that there will probably be quite a lot of research and development organizations, so kind of in the medicinal capacity, being able to leverage quantum computing to help us solve, hopefully, some of the conundrums of illness that we're not able to do today. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think Henrik's right. Today, it is reserved for the elite technology companies, but hopefully that will disseminate down into kind of practical applications that help us as human beings.
Yeah, how far do you think that potential can go though with quantum computing? Henrik, do you think it is something that far away in the future will have a huge impact on our lives?
It's so difficult to say. I mean, the pace of things being evolving at the moment, it just makes it so difficult to predict. Yeah. So I don't even want to predict that.
What about you, Duncan?
I'm a gambling man, so I'm going to say that I think there's a very strong likelihood that as technology continues to evolve, that it will manifest itself, hopefully down to the home computer. But frankly, my brain's not big enough and strong enough to kind of imagine what capabilities I might need at home. I'm struggling to get the most out of my smart fridge. So,
and that's the thing, actually, isn't it? I think. In terms of the knowledge about what quantum computing is in detail, I mean, there's very few sort of people in the world who would really be able to explain comprehensively what it is and what it does and what it will be able to do.
Indeed, yeah, and I don't think that the audience that you have in front of you is that audience that's going to be able to give you that answer today.
Very much a future tech. So, Duncan, shall we crack open our second?
Sure,
second
I'm going to go
day?
for a pink one here.
Duncan's gone for a pink egg.
There's a lot of pink eggs.
Yeah. The pink eggs have surfaced.
Future of work.
Okay, so this is quite a broad term, isn't it? Future of work. Duncan, let's come to you first. What comes to your mind when you hear the term future of work? What do you sort of vision?
Well, I'm sitting next to my boss, so that I think is going to influence my answer a little bit. No, look, what do I think about the future of work? Remote working, flexible working. We talk about a work-life balance. I think we're starting to get to a point where there is no balance. The two are so intrinsically intertwined, with our smartphones, always online, all of this kind of stuff. As kind of a manager and having employees, I think about how I can support them through their future of work. What does career development look like? Technology is obviously a big enabler, but the traditional job for life, I don't think it is still here, right? I think that has absolutely gone. it's unless you have a vocational job, the opportunities to kind of move across different sectors or departments. We've got a lot of examples in our organisation. People are able to kind of use transferable skills supported by the technology, right? So hopefully the future of work will just be an extension of that, with AI and machine learning taking away some of the laborious stuff, right? So that the humans can do the more creative and inventive stuff. But Henrik, what do you think?
I think it's a great question for the two of us. I mean, you have one person here living on an island and one person living in the very southern tip of Sweden, all having European wide positions, managing big teams. But like the future of work, I think I've started to see it over the last 5 to 10 years, where you've gone from being 9 to 5 in an office to be much more freedom. The new type of technologies that we're using today is really allowing you to be running a management meeting, all with people sitting remote, with video, with really good quality, without really having the expensive equipment. So I agree with Duncan 100% that we've seen the trend already happening. I'm then a bit nervous in a way to see the next phase to it, when we might go from employment contracts to project work 100%. So thinking about, I have 4 kids, so how will their work be when they hit the after university and so on? Will they be employed, or will they only be picking up project work? Global competition. So how will the next generation have to compete against talent on a global level? Compete for every type of gig or effort or project. So the world is competitive today. It will not be less competitive going forward. So I'm really excited about the future work, but also a bit scary at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that view is maybe held by a lot of people in work at the moment who worry about their potential jobs. Duncan, in terms of technology itself, you mentioned it a couple of times there. What role will technologies have in sort of sustaining the workplaces of the future? Yeah,
well, Henrik's already mentioned, video conferencing. There's a plethora of options that we can choose from today that support that kind of remote working. As we develop, we've just been talking about quantum computing. I'm not in a position to talk about how that's going to impact the future of work, but certainly what we're seeing today in terms of the AI and machine learning kind of space, I think that we should be able to make better decisions faster, right? But also actually the tasks that we're performing, hopefully will start to evolve and change, so that, as I say, we are focusing more on being creative and finding ways in which we can leverage this new technology rather than just having it as an enabler or a supporting function.
Yeah.
And if I can add one thing, I think is changing this a lot is Generation X and Y, right? Like we used to, when we started to do video meetings, have suits and shirts and be very polished sitting at home, right? But like when we get a much more younger workforce into organizations, and we're working hard on that at Apptio, it really allows us now to start to be much more relaxed. So we still turn the camera on the video, even though we're sitting in a hoodie and not being shaved, right? Yeah. So, but I think it's important to get to the point in time where you have a relaxed enough climate in the company to be allowing that to happen. That's when you can drive a good collaboration, allow people to work from home.
And do you think the benefits of that are obvious? Do you think, because there obviously has to be a reason for that, doesn't there? Reason for doing that.
100%. I mean,
well, 2 examples here, right?
Yeah. And communication is the number one thing you do, right? And there will always be misunderstandings if you only have voice. But if you add a video element to it, it will make your one-on-ones or leadership meetings so much more powerful if you have video on, and yet than just having a voice conversation.
Yeah. On a final point on this one, on a broader point, you mentioned AI and machine learning there. Those sort of massive technologies. Is it fair to say that in terms of these technologies, it's impossible right now to predict what impact they are going to have on the workforce of the future? Is that a fair point?
100%.
Yeah. If I could predict that, I wouldn't be sitting here.
But even loosely kind of think what impact they will have, because obviously the impact will be at scale, won't it? And it's that kind of grey area, I think, where people might be concerned about their jobs in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
You know, look, I think, I've certainly thought about the impact of technology on the workforce and what the future might be. You know, is there a role for an organization that is, having to look after those people that have been ousted by the developments of technology, right? Is it incumbent upon the currently employing organization to retrain and re-educate these people? Are those people indeed able to re-educate and retrain? These are kind of some of the questions that I think remain unanswered.
This is a fascinating topic. We could probably talk for a lot longer, but we must move on. Henrik, would you like to pick out egg number 3? It's gone for a
green again.
Green again.
What do we have?
Augmented reality.
Augmented reality. Okay, this is an interesting technology that has been actually spoken about for quite a while. Henrik, do you think AR is having an impact at enterprise level today?
Not really, I would say. I think there's certain areas where it's probably being used for research and so on. But in our company, I haven't seen any impact from AR at all. I think there's been a big buzz around it. There's been a lot discussions about that type of also second life and having a second. Yeah, we haven't seen any impact on what we do in our.
No.
Duncan, is that something you'd agree with?
Yes and no. So certainly we haven't. I haven't come across it, specifically in the course of our business. That said, I was visiting a customer site, a fairly well-known brand, and they were having an expo, and as part of that, there was an augmented reality stage, right? So I do think that. We are a little bit insulated in terms of what the capabilities are, but I envisage from a business perspective, certainly, being able to walk through, kind of the inner workings of an engine or something like that, right? So that you are effectively the lubricant inside it, right? But you can actually go right down inside an engine, see, if components are wearing or breaking. You think about kind of aircraft engines and those sorts of things, right? Can augmented reality, help us be eyes in places that we can't ordinarily be unless we take the whole machine apart, things like that. Certainly augmented reality is likely to manifest itself at a consumer level around gaming. So I would expect to see, my children wearing AR glasses and those sorts of things. But my knowledge of this is again, I think, a little bit limited.
Henrik, you read about and you see a lot of use cases for AR which are like headline grabbing and look exciting and fun to use, but do you think that's almost where it sits currently as a technology, and actually the business case for deploying it at scale is hard to make?
Potentially, but it can also be that the technology is not there yet, right? But if you look at that, might be early technologies going towards this becoming mainstream. Like, I didn't used to have a heads-up display a few years in my car. Already now having that type of visualization ahead of you, and I'm struggling. We have 2 cars, one with, one without. Every time I now drive the one without that type of visualization, it's really tough. It's not AR, right? I understand that, but it's also telling me that once you get going on a technology like this, it could become very sticky, and the value could be that people doesn't want to let go. But then again, that's also coming back to society. It can have a big impact, because do we want everybody to be sticking in their homes, in their houses, doing meeting via second world instead of meeting in real life? I like to meet people face to face.
There's a lot of value in actual reality, really, isn't there? Rather than obviously, I think people who are interested in this particular topic, like virtual reality, augmented reality especially, will say that the development of our devices, mobile phones, etc., are going to be key to the use of this technology. Do you think that that's a fair argument to make, and a fair reason why people might think AR might be a thing in the future?
I'm not sure how AR will kind of manifest itself in terms of kind of mobile technology, but you talking reminds me of seeing Star Wars, I think it was number 4 or number 5, where Princess Leia is presented as a hologram, right? So maybe, in the future we will be able to put our smartphones on our desks and have a kind of augmented reality conversation with a holographic image. Nothing, as Henrik said, nothing will replace the fist bump and the hug that you get face to face. But certainly, it might be possible that we're interacting via holographic images or imagery through our smartphones in the future.
Fantastic. I think you can hug a hologram, can't you? That's.
I don't know. It looks a bit weird. I'll let you go first on that.
All right, egg number 4, Duncan. Let's go.
I'm not going to stick with tradition. I'm going to go yellow.
First yellow egg.
First yellow egg.
What treat will emerge this time?
Oh, digital evangelist.
Digital evangelist.
Oh,
okay.
The one you really wanted.
The one
Duncan,
that I wanted to call BS on, yeah.
Why did you react like that when you opened that egg?
Because it's right. So look, there's a lot of talk about going digital transformation, digitalization. That manifests itself in a number of different ways. We are seemingly in a time where we do like to coin catchphrases. Personally, I feel digital evangelist is a little bit catchphrasy. I'm sure that there are people out there that do evangelize about the benefits of moving to a more digitally enabled set of processes. But frankly, I wouldn't be putting digital evangelist on my business card, even though I am supporting organizations to move and transform digitally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's all about managing change. Like, if it's digital, whatever the change is, right? You need somebody who is leaping ahead, helping the rest of the organizations or team or to keep up with something. And then you need certain individuals who's taking that type of lead. And in this case, in this situation, they're called digital. But I think it's important to have somebody who's just facilitating and driving change.
Yeah, but are they? They're not actually taking the action. Right, they're just speakers. They're evangelizing. So I don't see that they're thought leaders rather than actually driving the change. But certainly, first frontier type individuals that are there to think and air their views on how digital can support better organizations as they progress. Yeah.
Do you agree with Henrik, though, Duncan, that these people are, even if we don't call them digital evangelists, which I agree with you personally, that the term itself is quite cringeworthy, but do you agree that there is a role for, as digital becomes ever more sort of pervasive in every industry, do you think there is a position for people whose sole purpose is to almost promote and evangelize about
at the risk of potentially offending a few of the listeners, my personal opinion is no. I think that there is an awful lot of talent embedded in the workplace, right? And it's incumbent upon employers to kind of educate around what digital actually means for them, right? And for them to then, as I was saying earlier around the AI and kind of the future of work, be creative, right? I don't think that there is any better individual, or there is no better idea that comes from an individual that is faced with a problem, right? Evangelists probably talk a bit theoretically, and look, I'm sure that a lot of it is based on their own experience. But for me, getting down and dirty, rolling up the sleeves and getting stuck into things, facing the problems, and then figuring out, a digital solution, selling it to your manager, selling it to the business, getting the investment, and so on and so forth. That to me is true digital evangelism, rather than it being a specific job title.
Yeah. I agree, but I also think that there's a lot of boards of companies that are very nervous at the moment with all the change and all the it's both an opportunity and a threat, right? Mm-hmm. So you still need people that can help board members, people that hasn't been born in all of this technology change that we're currently in the midst of, who needs help to really be getting on the journey and understand what's the potential with digital. So that's why I think it's still a good facilitator in there.
Do you actually come across many people who have the job title digital evangelist? Is it something? Duncan's laughing.
Not to date.
Not to date.
My life would be richer, I'm sure, if I met one.
I'm sure you'll find one on LinkedIn. I mean, they're probably...
That's a great idea. Yeah. I'll see if I can connect.
I thought they all lived on your island.
Yeah, most of them do. Yeah.
Henrik's going to campaign for your job title to be changed now.
That's right, yeah, digital evangelist.
Right, we're going to go for egg number 5. Henrik, it's your turn again.
Oh.
It's gone pink.
I abandoned the greens.
Unfurling it now.
Oh no.
The one we didn't want.
Yes.
Blockchain.
Blockchain. Why didn't you want blockchain?
Because I probably don't understand it deep enough. So for me, blockchain is technology that can allow a disruption over certain areas, like payments, like those type of areas. That's probably the depth that I have into blockchain. It's something that will allow other things to happen at the technology level, but then I hit my limit of my competence on technology.
Yeah.
And over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So, I've got a friend who works at ISG who actually used to work at Apptio, right? But he is now leading blockchain. He might be a digital evangelist of blockchain.
A blockchain evangelist, yeah.
So, sorry, Alex, if you're listening. Look. Blockchain is there to support transactional relationships, right? So clearly the financial services industry is primed, right, to benefit from this. As I understand it, it's kind of the democratization of security around those transactions, right? So that there's not one single point of failure. From that perspective, obviously it's hugely interesting. It diversifies the need for technology to be solely located within an organization's data center or within their network. But to echo Henrik's point, it is quite an advanced kind of algorithm, I guess, that sits behind it, which I don't understand. But look, we have had people in our customer base talking about how they are trying to grapple with blockchain and how they can leverage it to their advantage.
I'm interested in whether they talk about the detail or whether they are talking at a level where they obviously see the potential of this technology, but they also maybe want to be seen to be actively pursuing an interest in it because it is so widely talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the individuals that I was referring to are fairly senior, so they're not going to get down in the weeds, with actually how it works. And I think for me to be able to talk articulatively about blockchain, I would need to understand a little bit more about exactly how it supports any organizational process. So I think they are at a similar point. It's clearly something that is available. It's cheap, it's reliable, it's secure, and for those reasons I think that's why people are exploring it. But to date, and Henrik, I'm looking at you, I haven't heard of any of our customers actually kind of going live with a blockchain or a process or a technology that's underpinned by blockchain.
No. And so how do you know it's cheap? You said it's cheap.
Well, because it's democratized.
Yeah.
Right. So Bitcoin, right? That's a blockchain technology, right? So nobody pays for Bitcoin, right? Yeah. You buy the Bitcoins themselves, the cryptocurrencies, but you're not paying for the underlying technology.
But I think there's some pretty big projects in some really big banks around. So there's a lot of labor costs going into creating solutions around blockchain and so on, in a fear of being disrupted by new players coming on board.
So I think they've been listening to their digital evangelists.
They come in and they scare them up in the boardrooms, and then they spend a lot of money on blockchain. So it doesn't always need to be cheap.
Yeah, back at me. Very good.
Henrik, you admitted that you don't know much about blockchain and sort of on a deeper level, but are you curious to know more? Do you take an interest when people are talking about blockchain and the potential that it has?
Well, it's probably an area that I need to spend more time on trying to understand on what the potential is from the technology. Yes. Okay,
fantastic. Right, I think we've got time for one more egg. So, Duncan.
Right, going blue. And we've got the worst one out of the way, so this one's going to be an easy one. And we have
our final egg for today's chat.
DevOps.
DevOps, okay. I think this is the first time this has come up in an episode of Fragmented Reality. So, how do you define DevOps, and is it something that's straightforward to achieve within an IT organisation? Duncan, let's go see you.
Okay, so DevOps is an abbreviation of development and operations. Yeah. Okay, so it's the merging of those two disciplines, right? Traditionally, you would have drills going off in the background as the operations team put their servers back together.
Somebody do DevOps.
Yeah. But look, as kind of technology has evolved, right, the gap between like the operations team and the development team is shrinking. We see this most around kind of the cloud technologies, right? So not only are people kind of standing up infrastructure, but they're standing up applications on those pieces of infrastructure at the same time. You've got various services that are applications that do not require any infrastructure. So we are seeing an enhancement or a transformation within the technology functions that is requiring people to understand both, the infrastructure and the development side, so that they can provide data center as a service, storage as a service, as well as standard compute as a service and those sorts of things. So, yeah, DevOps is a real thing. It's absolutely happening.
It's happening right now. You're saying
right
it's very much.
And it's changing organizations. It's allowed them to pick up speed. I mean, if you look at it traditionally, why should somebody develop code and then throw it across the fence to somebody to run it? When like the thinking is that somebody who does then develop this is the best person then to continue to be running it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the way of working in the future. Mm-hmm. Like and then it's like going all the way out to the agile way of working through a lot of new companies. And you can see a lot of the new startups, the speed that they have in their way of working. Yeah. It just like old established companies needs to pick up speed, and DevOps is a good ability to shake up the organization a bit and get them going, right?
Yep. I mean, if we're doing buzzword bingo, then we can drop in agile here, right? Clearly, DevOps is targeted towards agile delivery methods, right? But just to kind of get our own new buzzword in, FinOps, right? We're now seeing, kind of the financial impacts of DevOps work, right? As part of their responsibility, right? So as Henrik mentioned, you back in the good old days, you would have the app dev team. They'd spin up some code. They'd then request the infrastructure that needed to be presented in a data center. The code was loaded onto that. The whole kind of lead time to getting live was immense, right? Shrinking that down with the DevOps, the guys that are developing the code are now building the infrastructure, the architecture that sits underneath it at the same time, right? With FinOps, we're actually seeing now that people are taking financial accountability for those development and design decisions.
Yeah, I mean, people think, cloud, it's all about you pay for what you use. Mm-hmm. No, you pay for what you provision. And it's important when you go to those type of models that you have the right capabilities in place. Mm-hmm. So you're able to take up all the benefits that exists in cloud and DevOps and Agile. So,
yep.
This FinOps concept, is it something that you're big on at Apptio at the moment?
Yeah, it's a key underpinning of our cloudability application. Yeah. So whilst Apptio has been talking about technology business management for a long time, and that's very much kind of focused around IT leadership, the FinOps discipline is to support those kind of more operational members of the IT organization and driving the accountability for their decisions in terms of the cost, right, down at their level, mm-hmm. right? So this is, again, kind of democratizing the role of leadership. It supports the IT leaders, or the operations leaders, I should say, with the financial governance and management that their bosses are also trying to achieve, and they could leverage TBM as a part of that.
Yeah. And tying it back to DevOps then, right? Because if you look at it traditionally, when somebody has been developing the code and then asking somebody to be running it, when they asked infrastructure, they said, I want the biggest server, and I want the fastest everything around it, right? Having people to take accountability of making sure that you're actually configuring a solution that is matching what the application is supposed to do, or the service that you're running in there. There's a pretty clear, I would say, connection between FinOps and DevOps, just to make the connection back.
Would you say the growth of DevOps and now FinOps is that further evidence of the importance of IT organisations now within businesses? Because obviously previously the back office function it would have been seen as, but now we're seeing proper accountability within IT teams for business critical kind of areas.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole picture here is, IT is going beyond an enabler, right, and is actually now kind of driving organizations forward to bring technology to that forefront in terms of how an organization interacts with its customers, right? We all know customers can be fairly fickle, right? And we need to be able to adapt and change, right? So this is where the hybrid operating model, where you've got some on-premise, kind of classic IT operational infrastructure, and then your cloud capabilities. So whether that's private or public cloud, right? Bringing that all together, right, is a key challenge for the operations team, right? The DevOps guys are obviously working around the cloud, the private, public, where do we provision, how do we provision, right sizing, all of those sorts of things. The FinOps then just adds that layer of financial accountability on top, so that, when they are setting out, launching a new application, right, they're able to not only monitor and maintain the level of service that it's providing, but also the cost that level of service is incurring.
And what does then the digital evangelist do?
Well,
he's on the wind up here, isn't he?
The digital evangelist is sitting in the back with his feet up drinking coffee.
Well, I think no, really interesting points to finish on, and maybe FinOps should be encased in an egg for the next episode of Fragmented Reality. Guys, thank you very much. Henrik and Apptio's new digital evangelist, Duncan, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Power up your day with the Bulletin Brief, the latest news, insights and opinion delivered straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at digitalbullet.in.